Okay, so first things first, putting my gloves on and really shaking the Greystone. This is what we'll be using on this, and I'm also going to put it in a spray just because the piece is so big, and I will be using brushes for some of the special technique, the aging process that I'm going to do on this particular piece. So put our little gun in place here. And I like to put a mask on. Yes, our paint is non-toxic, but I don't like anything in my lungs or up my nose, whatever. That's just my personal preference. You do whatever you want. You be you. Okay. There we go. And I put safety glasses on too. And here we go.
So a good rule of thumb, if you're using a sprayer, I put 16 ounces of Vermont Chalky paint in for every 4 ounces of water. If you see orange peeling going on your surface, it means you have too much paint, not enough water. If it's runny and drippy, that means you have too much water and not enough paint. So every sprayer is different. You'll have to plan accordingly.
I've put the very first coat on here, and I got the Stick and Style stencil roll from Redesign with Prima. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my joint compound and make a raised stencil so that I can do this paint technique over the stencil so they all kind of blend together. And I'm pretty excited about using this product. We have a tutorial coming up with Redesign with Prima soon, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I figured I would start early and get going on giving it a whirl here in the shop. So when you open these, what's kind of neat is it has, you know, a tab on the top that you can peel off, and then these just literally peel and stick onto your project. So that's something I'm pretty excited about. So I'm going to get started. I think I'm going to do just the center first because I don't want the pattern to be overwhelming. So I may just do the center on each of the doors, probably one there and one there, and see where I end up. Here we go. Yep, and I want it to be 5 1/4 on each side. I love that you can reposition this. And I'm going to leave a little extra on the bottom because I want to be able to pull this up, because I'm going to cover this in joint compound. Use my my handy dandy credit card to smooth this down. Now I only did one coat of the Greystone on this piece because I knew I was going to be doing this, and I wanted to do a second coat over it so that everything melds together. So that's what the plan is. We'll see if this actually works. And you can see inside, I'm just going to stir it up a little bit because it's been sitting for a while. Anytime you have product, I don't care if it's paint or joint compound or whatever, never hurts to stir it, shake it, whatever, so that you've got good product to work with right from the get-go. All right. What I'm doing is I'm wiping my blade off so that I've got a nice clean edge when I run it down the pattern. This is a very messy process, just giving you a heads up on that. This is not easy if you are somebody who is a perfectionist. Stencil off and see what I've got. I would not pull this quickly. Slow and steady wins the race. That is really cool. I really like that effect. A couple places where I'm gonna just neaten up a little bit so it went over the edge. All right, so as you can see behind me, I have the Greystone put on. Of course, the raised stencil is on there. And now I'm going to do a technique called Verdigris Patina. It's a greenish patina that you see sometimes when copper has weathered over time, something like the Statue of Liberty. I got inspired to do this by Christina from the Reclaimed Heirloom, and I'll put a link in the comments of where you can see her piece and how much she inspired me. I'm a huge fan of hers, the Reclaimed Heirloom. So what I'm going to use are the Colonial Green from Vermont Chalky paint. That's going to be the main wash. Cocoa Cafe is also going to be mixed in there. Harvest Orange to give it a little bit of a pop. And lastly, I'll be using a little bit of graphite here and there too. So I've got my mister, which is really critical for this. It needs to be a wet on wet technique. If you use a regular spray bottle, you risk having it drizzle down, and I really don't want the drips. I want it to be a nice, smooth, aged look. So I wanted to go with this mister because it just has a really fine mist. All right, so I'm gonna put my gloves on and get busy.
Now that I just finished telling you I didn't want drips, well, I kind of do actually. The reason I like the mister instead of just a conventional spray bottle is that you can really have an even mist, is really what I was trying to say. I do want the drip effect because I want it to look like copper that's been out and weathered for years and years. That's the effect that I'm looking for. And so you can see that I've done the green, I've wiped it down, and now I'm putting the Cocoa Cafe, and again, wiping it down over and over again. It's wet on wet, and it is a long process for sure.
So I'm going to go over this again with the Greystone to kind of blend things a little better. I'm using my round brush for this effect because I don't want it too green, but I also don't want it too Greystone. So it's a Goldilocks thing going on here. So I'm just going to take my round brush and a little Greystone, and I'm going to start mixing this together. And I'll also use my mister too. So
yeah, the mister I'm going to be using because I want to keep that paint, again, wet on wet. It's very important to keep that consistency, so you can see that I'm putting the Greystone on, I'm wetting it down, I'm really making it sure that it stays saturated. And yes, I'm even going over the raised stencil in the center. And again, you just keep repeating this process.
All right, so on the left side, this is the look that I want. It's evened out, it's smoother. Over here, I'm going to add some of the green, and I'll show you exactly how I did that. As you saw earlier, I just had done Greystone over the top. I took some of my Cocoa Cafe and put that on. I've let it dry, and now I'm going to take my Colonial Green and do the wet technique again on that side. So let me show you what that looks like.
So again, it's going to be the Colonial Green brushed on and dry ragged as well as wet ragged.
I really love the green. I love the effect, but I want these to pop a little more, so I'm going to see if I can put graphite in here.
And once I started putting the graphite on, I was really happy with how this turned out. You could even do a copper metallic touch in there too. That would look kind of cool. If you want details on this project, make sure that you go out to our website and visit VermontChalkyPaint.com. Thanks for watching.